Hello, Fossil Ridge. This is Principal Howell here. I hope everybody is doing well. As always, it's another great day to be a T-Rex. I am coming to you live today from my home. There are a few things that we've become a little bit concerned about, some of which we just need to remind you of a few things. There will be a couple of things that are going to change a little bit, but for the most part today, I just wanted to talk with you about technology use at Fossil Ridge Intermediate School. Remember, as students at Fossil Ridge, our number one priority, aside from being safe, is to come to school every day ready to learn. And as an administration, as a faculty, as a staff, we want to do everything in our power to eliminate or reduce any distractions that might get in the way of our students learning at their highest levels. And one of the things we've become a little more concerned with following our Christmas break is our technology, cell phone, headphone use in the building. Remember, students, as we go throughout our day, most of the building is off limits to cell phone use. Anytime we're in the halls, anytime we're in the classroom, if we're in the library, those areas are what we call the no cell phone zone. And we've recently put up some new signs just to help remind you that in the classroom, in the hallway, in the libraries, in the restrooms, anywhere that learning should be taking place or we're going from class to class, those areas cell phone use is off limits, and that includes headphones. And so we need to make sure that when we are in the no cell phone zone, that our phones are in our backpacks, they're turned off, our headphones are in our backpacks, where we're not going to be tempted to get them out and use them in class or as we're walking from class to class. So remember, in the no cell phone zones, which is classrooms, hallways, libraries, bathrooms, our phones need to be turned off and placed in our backpacks. We do have an area in the building where we allow cell phone use, and that is in the commons. And we actually allow cell phone use in the commons anytime before school. That's when we're waiting for the first bell to ring as we're arriving to school and we're in the commons area, or at lunch. So the commons area, and this is the commons area again, it's also, our lunchroom. This is the area where cell phones and other technology are allowed. And this would even include your headphones. You can use your headphones during lunch. You can use your headphones before school. This cell phone zone is the only area in the building where students are allowed to use cell phones, tech, other devices, maybe Chromebooks or laptops, only before school and during lunch. And we've recently placed some posters in the commons area, again, to remind kids that this is the cell phone zone. This is the only area at Fossil Ridge where tech can be used, and it can only be used before school while we're waiting for the first bell to ring and during lunch. Okay, so again, cell phone zone is for cell phones and other electronic devices. When can we use the cell phone zone? Before school and during lunch only. And it must be in the commons area at the tables only. Now, this is specifically important during lunchtime. So let's go back to this picture. So before school, we're really super busy because we have so many kids arriving before the first bell rings. The commons is much more crowded in the morning than it is during lunch, okay? So what I'm going to talk about now is specifically what's going on during lunch, because only about half our students are in the commons during each of the two lunches. So in order to use the cell phone zone during lunch, Students must be sitting at the tables. You cannot, again, listen to me, students. The cell phone zone can only be used when you are sitting down at the tables. If you are not sitting down at the tables, you are not allowed to use your cell phone in the commons area. And here's why. Recently, not only have we had some issues with students being on inappropriate sites or doing inappropriate things on their phones during lunch, but we've also started to see some students engaged in horseplay and just overall inappropriate behavior in the commons area during lunch when they're not sitting down. Over, in this big area away from the tables, we've had students running around, students falling down, students dropping trays, and just making a mess. And so during lunch, you must be sitting at a table to not only use your cell phone, but you must be sitting at a table to remain in the commons. If you are up and you are doing something other than picking up your food or dropping your tray off or standing in line for the school store, you will be asked to either sit down at one of the tables or go outside. Again, during lunch, if you are in the commons, you must be sitting down unless you're standing in line for the school store, unless you're standing in line to get your lunch, unless you're throwing away your tray, okay? But otherwise, if you are in the commons, you must be seated at one of the tables. The other thing with that is if you want to use your cell phone in the cell phone zone, you must do so at the tables. Again, the only place you can use your cell phone or other tech devices during lunch is in the commons, sitting at a table. If you are doing anything else other than sitting at the table, you will be asked to either sit down or go outside for the remainder of lunch. If you have a cell phone, you will be asked by an adult, you will be directed by an adult to return to the tables if you want to continue to use your cell phone. If you're outside and you are on your cell phone, you will be directed by an adult to either put your phone away or return to a table in the commons area. Okay? So again, let's make sure that we understand what's happening here. First and foremost, we have specific areas in the school building where cell phones are not to be used. Those areas of the building we're going to refer to as the no cell phone zone. That would be classrooms, that would be hallways, that would be restrooms, that would be the media center, the gym, okay? Those places, phones are not allowed. Again, in a no cell phone zone, your phone should be turned off. It should be put in your backpack, as well as headphones or any other electronic devices. The only place that cell phones or other electronic devices are allowed is in the cell phone zone. And the cell phone zone is located in the commons and can only be used before school, as we're waiting for the first bell to ring, and during lunch. Okay? Again, the cell phone zone is the commons, and devices, phones, laptops, headphones may be used in the cell phone zone before school and during lunch. Now, keep in mind, during lunch, all students who are in the commons must be seated at tables for the entire lunch period. If you don't want to sit at a table, if you don't want to access your technology, that's fine, but you will be directed outside to go outside by our supervision staff. If you want to remain in the commons, and or if you want to access your technology during lunchtime, you will have to do so and remain seated at the tables. Okay? Again, if you're up during the lunch period, an adult will ask you to return to a table. If you don't want to return to a table, that's fine, but you will have to go outside. Just keep in mind, if you're outside in the outdoor area during lunch, you will not be able to access your technology. The only place you can use your cell phone is in the commons during lunch, and you must be seated at a table. This new policy, this little bit of a change, will begin today. As we begin the lunch periods today, and it may take us a couple days to get used to this little bit of a change. So we'll be patient with you, you be patient with us. We're just trying to clean up our use of cell phones in a more appropriate way. And we feel like as a school, this will help us supervise that a little bit better, as well as just overall behavior by our students, especially during the lunch period. If you have any questions, you are free to ask your teacher. You're free to ask any of the commons area adults who are supervising before school and during lunch. Or as always, you're obviously free to come in and talk with myself or Mr. Finlinson. Again, the only place we are going to be able to use our cell phones, which has been the same all year, is in the commons area before school, during lunch. The big change now is if you want to use your cell phone, you've got to be seated at the tables. If you don't want to use your cell phone and you don't want to be seated at the table, that's fine. We're just going to ask you to go outside to help make sure that students are behaving in an appropriate manner, and that we're doing the things we should do in the lunchroom and in the commons area when we're all in there together. The one last thing I will mention, we've had a little bit of difficulty lately cleaning up after ourselves during lunch. And so the last thing we're going to tie to cell phone use in the lunchroom is this. If we keep the commons area clean, it will remain a cell phone zone. If we have to continually clean up messes each and every day, whether that be adult supervisors or lunch workers or our custodial staff, then we will close down the commons to the cell phone zone, and the entire building will then become a no cell phone zone. So what did I just say? We need to make sure we're cleaning up our messes at lunch, or we will lose the privilege of using our cell phones and other tech during the lunch period. I hope this is clear. I hope it makes sense. If you have any questions, please ask. I look forward to a successful week at Fossil Ridge. Let's continue to be Trexcellent. Have a great day, Fossil Ridge.